All right, today I've got Sarah Kerry with me, who's got a very interesting job in the media that she's going to be talking about. Sarah, what job's that?
I'm a screenwriter.
A screenwriter, very interesting. And did you need any specific training to become a screenwriter, Sarah?
Well, I went through university and studied a screenwriting specific course at the London's Met Film School.
Ah, so a specialist
Film university, yeah.
Okay. Would you say that's essential, that degree, or?
No, you don't have to have it, but it's a good starting point if you want to get into screenwriting.
Right. Okay. So if you couldn't do the screenwriting degree, something in English or?
Yeah, but it's more working freelance, so you don't necessarily have to have it. You just have to know what you're talking about. Like don't have to have a degree in it, like a notice qualification, but you can. It does help.
Okay, but if you've got credentials,
yeah,
even if you haven't got that qualification, okay, you can still pick up work. Any other qualifications apart from the degree or training, or is it just something that a creative thing that people come to?
Well, anyone can do it really. When in America, the usual route is to join the Writers Guild for America, who's kind of work as an organisation to get screenwriters work and stuff. And it's common when you first get into it to work as freelance, and you start by selling a treatment or a synopsis, and then you work into it like that way, so you can sell a little bit of it. But more advanced people who've been working in it a longer time will often work with a director or a producer and sort of pitch work that way.
Right, okay. So they'll have access to people higher up the food chain?
Yeah, more advanced people in the business, so they can sort of get into it more directly.
Okay. No, very good, very interesting. And so on a day-to-day basis then, as a screenwriter, I imagine there's a time when you are just writing a script or you're coming up with an idea individually, but beyond that, what happens after that?
You often meet with like people who have written an existing piece of work that's been translated into a film or a piece for screen. So you could often I meet with like authors and writers of like biographies and stuff, and sort of we'll discuss how that's going to be moved into a film. So there's that, and then often you just work at home or on your own, so just writing your script. But you can have other people that work for you, so like if you're a more advanced screenwriter, you can get people to help you and do research and stuff.
Alright, so you might have a researcher working under you or something like that. Do you are there any occasions where you might work with other screenwriters?
Yeah, there's many of the work that you can get is done in like it's called the food chain sort of work, where you will be brought onto a job rewriting scripts that other script writers have done. So they might have written a screenplay, and then other script writers are brought in to improve it until the final one's done.
Ah, so we do get large teams of people working on those things. So what would you see as your most important responsibility?
Well, when producing a screenplay, it's often important to make sure that you're getting, if it's an original piece of writing that like I've produced, then it needs to be like important and clear to sell, and for directors and producers to be able to make it into a film. But if it's a screenplay for an existing piece of writing, then it's important that it stays like true to that, so you don't change it too much. So it's got to, but then again, you've got to cut bits out to make it make sense for screen, so it's adapted well. So it's quite important that you get the balance right.
Right, so that balance between creating something that's fit for the screen, but also sticking to that artist's original vision.
Yeah.
I can understand how that's very difficult, and quite often that does go spectacularly wrong, doesn't it, in films?
Yeah.
And obviously, Sarah, somebody as successful and experienced as you in the industry will have encountered lots of problems and overcome them. Are there any Anything that you could tell us about in that regard?
Well, often you have problems meeting with some authors when you think, like, because obviously I'll have to read their piece of work first, so if I think like a part of the book, or say like one particular chapter or scene I don't think would move well into the film, then I'll have to suggest cutting it out. But sometimes you encounter problems when they don't agree with you, or they're very like protective of their piece of work, and obviously they don't like it being changed by someone else.
So who apart from other screenwriters that you might be involved with, who do you work closely with then?
Well, often with a director or a producer, or you can get yourself a representative. So I often work with them, and then a team of researchers who research the book and the film and everything, how that would be made. So how best it is to move it into a film or a drama for the TV.
What kind of things might those researchers research?
They can look into, like, if it's a book, the locations, if they're real, and then if they're not real, how best to portray that for an audience who won't be just reading it, who'll have to visualise it as well.
Oh, right, okay. And then I suppose there's costumes and there's historical detail and okay. No, very interesting. And finally, this might be a personal question, Sarah, but can you tell us a little something about what kind of contracts you might work under and how much you get paid?
Well, the average salary for a scriptwriter is $38,000, but that varies depending on how popular and well known you are. The most was $5 million for one particular script. You can.
Do you know what that was for, out of interest?
I don't know what it was for. It was a man that wrote it. I don't know what that is about. You can get paid for like piecework by a spec script, which is just like there's no upfront payment for it, so you just write it and then give it to someone. Or you can get paid like given. So you'll get given a job and then you go write a script for it, and it's done that way, so you're like under contract. You can get jobs by like rewriting other people's, like I already said. You can get other payments like by bonuses, so if the film that you're working on gets more than like X amount, then you'll get a bonus.
So you, like on a successful film, you'll be rewarded with a proportion of that success.
Yeah, and then there's something called against pay, which is like if your script sold for say $200,000 when it's an unproduced script, if they then choose to produce it, then they'll give you like $200,000 more. So it's called 200,000. It's like $200,000 versus $200,000. So in the end, you'll get 400,000. But if it's not produced, they just like own the script. You just get 200,000.
Right. Okay. All right. So you mean
so there's different variants of how much you earn depending on how successful it is.
So there's some uncertainty then in the way that you get paid in your profession. Sarah, that's been very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.